So, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. I hope you all are doing well. We've started with the most important, the most easiest chapter in IGCSE and O-levels chemistry called organic chemistry. In organic chemistry, we've studied the definition of organic, which is the study of hydrocarbons and their derivatives. Hydrocarbons are those compounds which entirely based on carbon and hydrogen atoms. Now, the main source of hydrocarbon is crude oil, also known as petroleum. Petroleum is the mixture of different hydrocarbons, and we can separate the mixture using a technique called fractional distillation. So we can use fractional distillation to get the different fractions of crude oil, and which separates the components based on their boiling points. So the fraction with the lowest boiling point will distill off first and collected at the top. So look at this whole process of fractional distillation. You add the crude oil, and then you heat at a certain point. Every fraction based on its boiling point will turn into gas, and you can collect it based again on their boiling point. So the fraction with the lowest boiling point will distill off first and collected at the top. And the fraction is called refinery gas. And I mentioned in the last class that we need to learn all of these fractions in order. Refinery gas is for cooking, gasoline, fuel for cars, naphtha, it's used in chemicals known as chemical feedstock. Kerosene, it is used as jet fuel. Diesel oil, fuel for heavy engines. Fuel oil, fuel for ships and home heating systems. Lubricating oil, it is used as engine oil to make waxes and polishes. And bitumen is for road making. But there are few trends which we need to consider as you go top to bottom or bottom to top. So we've wrote these trends moving from top, going from top to bottom. As you go top to bottom, the carbon chain increases, which means the fraction on the top has the lowest number of carbon atoms. But as you're moving down, like gasoline have more carbon than refinery, naphtha has more kerosene. So the most number of carbon atom are possessed by bitumen. And since refinery gas has the lowest boiling point, the fraction at the top, top of the column is the coldest part in this entire apparatus. It has the lowest temperature because the fraction at the top has the lowest boiling point. So सबसे ऊपर सबसे कम temperature. But as you go down, the temperature is increasing. So the bottom of the column is the area where the temperature is the highest. As you move down, since the carbon chain increases, the viscosity also increases, boiling point increases. The only thing which decreases is the flammability. Flammability decreases as you move top to bottom, which means the fraction at the top is highly flammable. But as the carbon chain is increasing, going down the group, ability to burn decreases. So flammability decreases. Make sense, everyone? Yes. All right. So today, we need to further explore the introductory part of organic chemistry. So let's begin. And in this very topic, we need to know that how many types of formulas in organic compounds. We know that so far we've studied two types of formulas. You know that we have molecular formula, and what is the other type of formula? Anyone? We have studied molecular formula and भाई कितनी types के formulas पढ़े हुए हमने? Moles में पढ़ा था. Molecular formula and empirical formula. In organic chemistry, we have two more types of formulas, which includes, let's begin with the type of formula. The first type of formula is basically structural formula. Right? For example, in organic chemistry, we have various different compounds. Let's say a compound with a formula of C4H10. अभी हम देखेंगे कि इसको हम कहते क्या हैं. But there is this compound which is called C4H10. In structural formula, we write every carbon separately. अभी चलें पहले हम इसको displayed कर लेते हैं. चलें मैं यहाँ पे displayed बनाता हूँ, then we'll learn the structure. So we have displayed formula. There is a key difference in structural and display. Let's say we have a molecule with the formula C4H10. That's the molecular formula. So how to represent the whole structure? It has 4 carbons, and we know that each carbon makes 4 bonds. कितने bond बनाता है each carbon? 4. So let's attach appropriate number of hydrogens. Right? So we have hydrogens with each carbon. If you look at each carbon, every carbon is bonded to 4 atoms. No matter if it is the central carbon, look at this carbon, for example. It is bonded to 4 atoms, 1, 2, 3, and 4. Similarly, look at this carbon, the next carbon. It is also bonded to 4 on all 4 sides. So every carbon is bonded to at least 4 bonds. एक carbon से 4 bond बनाते हैं, that is no less than 4 and no greater than 4. Now, the type of formula in which you open every bond and every atom. So in displayed formula shows every atom and every bond. So look at this formula. We have opened this formula. We've displayed every bond and every atom. So this type of formula is called displayed formula. Whereas in structural formula, you just write the carbon separately. Let's say, for example, first carbon. If you look at the first carbon, it has how many hydrogens? 3. 1, 2, and 3. The next carbon has 2 hydrogens. Next has 2 hydrogens, and the last carbon has 3. So in structural formula, you remove the bonds. You just show every carbon separately and its attached atoms. For example, with first carbon, you have 3 hydrogen atoms attached. तो मैंने उसके साथ 3 हाइड्रोजन्स लिख लिए. ये देखो इसके 3 हाइड्रोजन्स थे तो मैंने 3 लिखे. नेक्स्ट कार्बन हैज 2 हाइड्रोजन्स. देखो नेक्स्ट कार्बन मैंने लिखा और उसके वी रोट 2 हाइड्रोजन्स. So in structural formula, you write every carbon separately and you attach the atoms that were attached in the displayed formula. But in displayed formula, you open the structure. We show every single bond and every single atom. Make sense, everyone? So, and then we have few more examples of displayed formula. For example, we have another molecule which is called C2H5OH. This is called ethanol. अभी हम पढ़ेंगे what exactly ethanol is. So again, as I mentioned, आपने carbon बना ली. It's a single bond, and then this carbon must have 3 further attachments. 3 hydrogens इसके साथ लगा दिए. The next carbon must have 3 further attachments, and we have OH. So we have to show every single bond and every single atom openly. This is the displayed formula of ethanol, where you actually displayed every bond and every atom. Now, the next type of formulas, the third type of formula is called molecular formula. As I mentioned, वो तो हमने पहले से पढ़ा हुआ है. And we have the fourth type of formula is called empirical formula. Right? So you have molecular and empirical formula. Imagine molecular formula is the one, for example, we have a formula which is called C4H10. By looking at the molecular formula, we can deduce the total number of carbon and hydrogen atoms. So molecular formula, it shows the total number of atoms of each element. It doesn't tell कि इस कार्बन के साथ कितने हाइड्रोजन्स हैं, हाइड्रोजन कितने कार्बन के साथ अटैच है. But this type of formula just tells you the total number of atoms of each element. Whereas we know that empirical formula हमें क्या बताता है? It shows the simple whole number ratio, simple whole number ratio of atoms in a molecule. So for example, look at this carbon and hydrogen. So again, इसमें 4 carbons and hydrogens कितने 10. What could be the simple whole number ratio? Anyone? If we have 4 carbons, how many hydrogens do we have? 10. So what could possibly be simple whole number ratio? क्या हो सकती है? Let's imagine अगर ये 2 है, तो उसके अगर ये 4 है तो ये 10 है. अगर इसका half किया 2 तो इसका half क्या होगा 5. Can you further simplify this molecule, provided it should remain in the whole numbers? अगर इसको हम 1 करेंगे तो ये क्या हो जाएगा? ये तो 2.5 हो जाएगा. तो ये तो whole number ही नहीं रहा. तो definition is of empirical formula which shows the simple whole number ratio. Simple, the lowest possible ratio, and for this very formula, it has to be कितना क्या होना चाहिए इसका empirical formula? It should be C2H5. So this formula shows the simple whole number ratio of atoms. Molecular formula tells you the total number of atoms. Displayed formula shows the actual arrangement of atoms. You need to show every bond and every atom, whereas in structural formula, you just remove the bonds, but you still show carbon and hydrogen atoms separately. Make sense, everyone? Please say yes. Please go check करें सब लोग. Yes, the types of formulas.
Sir, can you explain one and two again?
So in displayed formula, you open the molecule, you show every bond. I mean the lines. These lines are called bonds. You show every bond separately and every atom separately, an open structure. Whereas in structural formula, you just remove the bonds and you just show the carbon and its attached hydrogens, without the bonds. Correct?
Okay.
Make sense, everyone? Yes. All right. So again, the next task is extremely important. In organic chemistry, in this very organic chemistry, we are going to study different families of organic compounds. Different families of organic compounds. Every family has its own properties. Just for example, we are Pakistanis. We are a family. हम जहां भी जाएंगे, no matter you travel Canada, Russia, किसी भी part of the world, हमें वो पता लग जाएगा कि यार ये like सब continent के लोग हैं because of our skin. So we are brown people. ये हमारी family है. Similarly, अगर कोई British यहाँ आएगा तो हम उसको identify कर लेंगे based on its characteristic. So in organic chemistry, we have 5 families, and every family has something in common. And based on that, common properties, we can assess their general formulas, their chemical properties, their physical properties, and the type of reaction that they're going to, react with different elements. Now, the family in organic compound is called homologous series. Extremely important and a must-ask question in both O-levels and IGCSE. What exactly this homologous series is? A class of organic compound. Homologous series is basically class of organic compounds which have the same functional group. Class of organic compound that have the same functional group shows similar chemical properties and a trend in physical properties. Trend in physical properties. इसकी आप example देखेंगे तो you'll develop a better understanding about the homologous series. For example, we all are Pakistani. We do have some similarities and some, कुछ differences भी होते हैं. Like similarity हमारे पे ये हो सकती है कि पाकिस्तानी जहाँ जाएंगे, they're hardworking people. At the same time, there are disadvantages. If you look at Dubai and other countries, Middle Eastern countries, Pakistanis are famous for certain reasons. And that's why we struggle to, get jobs in different countries. It's because we share some common properties and we all know that what are those properties in Pakistanis. Similarly, homologous series एक family है. हर फैमिली की कुछ सर्टन प्रॉपर्टीज हैं जो सब में होंगी और कुछ प्रॉपर्टीज होंगी जहां पे वो स्लाइटली डिफर करेंगे. इनमें कॉमन क्या है? ऑल मेंबर ऑफ दैट फैमिली व्हिच इज होमोलोगस सीरीज, दे फॉलो द सेम फंक्शनल ग्रुप. नो व्हाट इज फंक्शनल ग्रुप अभी बताएंगे. बिकॉज दे हैव सेम फंक्शनल ग्रुप, दे शो सिमिलर केमिकल प्रॉपर्टीज, बट दे डिफर विद देयर physical properties, they show a trend. Trend का मतलब है they slightly differ. Now we have some of the characteristic features of a homologous series. Features of homologous series. What are those features? All members of homologous series, all members of a homologous series, definition में क्या लिखा हुआ था? Follows या have the same functional group. All member of homologous series have the same functional group. Same functional group. Number 2, all member of homologous series shows similar chemical properties. Few similar chemical properties because they have same functional groups. So they have same functional group, and due to the same functional group, they show similar due to same functional group, right? So all members of homologous series follow same functional group, and due to which they show similar chemical properties. All members of the homologous series follows same जनरल फॉर्मूला. एक फॉर्मूला होता है जिसमें एक मेंबर्स के सारे लोग उसी को फॉलो करेंगे, उसको हम कहते हैं जनरल फॉर्मूला. अभी हम वन बाय वन हर एक होमोलोगस सीरीज को डिस्कस करेंगे, सो यू विल गेट अ बेटर अंडरस्टैंडिंग कि व्हाट एग्जैक्टली द जनरल फॉर्मूला है. अजान हो रही है, प्लीज आप इसको नोट करें. Everyone, please. All right. So let's review what exactly this homologous series is. It's a class of organic compounds that have the same functional group, show similar chemical properties and a trend in physical properties. What are some of the features? Usually वो 2 पूछता है, लेकिन कोई से भी 2 पूछ सकता है. So we need to learn all of these features. All member of homologous series have the same functional group. Due to the same functional group, all members show similar chemical properties. all members follow a formula that is called general formula. So all member of the same homologous series follows same general formula. They show a trend in their physical properties, and the consecutive member of a homologous series differ by a group CH2. इसका मतलब क्या अभी आपको समझ आ जाएगा. Now let's understand what is functional group. ऊपर मैंने लिखा हुआ functional group. So what is this functional group? Functional group is an atom or group of atoms. An atom or group of atoms that imparts chemical properties to a homologous series. Chemical properties to a homologous. So what is a functional group? It could be an atom or group of atoms that decides the chemical properties of a homologous series, right? So functional group could be an atom or group of atoms that decides the chemical properties of a homologous series. For example, everyone please. For example, if there is a double bond between carbon-carbon atoms, if there is a double bond, because of the presence of double bond, this molecule will be known as alkene, and this double bond is the functional group. जहां भी double bond होगा हम कहेंगे this molecule belongs to a homologous series called alkene. So no matter उसमें 10 carbon है, 20 है, 2 है, 5 है, if there is one double bond between any two carbon atom, it shows that it belongs to alkene family, right? And then if a carbon chain ends with simple OH, if any amount of carbon atom, 1, 2, 20, 10, any carbon contain just OH, because of the presence of OH, you can name it as an alcohol. So because of the presence of OH, which is the functional group of alcohol, the whole molecule will become alcohol. If there is a double bond, the whole molecule will become alkene. So alkene have entirely different properties than alcohol. So which means this group of atoms decides the properties of that series, no matter if it is attached to 1 carbon, 2 carbon, or a carbon chain of like 7 carbon. And even if there is one OH with any carbon, that family is now alcohol. Now, the third type of functional group part of our syllabus is, carboxylic acid. Imagine a chain, a carbon chain ends with a group like this. इसको यूं भी लिख सकते हैं और यूं भी लिख सकते हैं, right? ये जो bond open मैंने यहाँ पे किया हुआ है, there is a carbon chain on the other side. So if your molecule have this group of atoms, in fact, due to this group of atom, the whole family now belongs to carboxylic acid. And the last functional group part of our syllabus is, if there is C double bond O and then there is oxygen, just oxygen, यहाँ पे OH था, इसके आगे chain नहीं जाएगी. If there is oxygen and on this side there is carbon atoms, on this side there are carbon atoms. If we have something like this, this family is called esters. So in our syllabus there are 4 functional groups. Any carbon chain which have a double bond, it belongs to alkene family. Any carbon chain which have just OH, it would be alcohol family, alcohol homologous series, right? And any molecule with COOH, जिसको आप यूं भी लिख सकते हो, यूं भी लिख सकते हो, that calls carboxylic acid. And if you have just CO2, on both sides you have carbon chains. ये carbon R represents carbon chain, and on both sides you have carbon chain. That is called esters. This is the functional group of esters, right? Now, we have one family. Yes, Samir. There is one family that do not have any functional group, and that is called alkane. So let me write alkane here. Yes, Samir.
What if it has double carbon bond and OH at its end?
Then it would be carboxylic acid, so double carbon bond and OH.
Okay.
This is for carboxylic acid. But if it's just double bond carbon and oxygen, and this side we have carbon, this side we have carbon or hydrogen, It could be, esters and no more carboxylic acid. There is one family, only one homologous series that do not have any functional group. It just have carbon and hydrogen atoms, and all carbon carbon are single bonded. Alkanes is the only homologous series which have no functional group. No functional group. In fact, इसकी identification क्या है? All carbon carbon bonds are single covalent. Carbon bonds are single covalent, right? So alkane का कोई functional group नहीं है. In fact, अगर functional group का नहीं है तो how do we know whether it is alkane? इसकी identify कैसे करेंगे? कार्बन के जितने भी bonds होंगे, they all are single covalent. So this is extremely important, everyone. A homologous series is a class of organic compounds that have the same functional group, show similar chemical properties, and a trend in the physical properties. What are the features of the members of the same homologous series? They all have the same functional group. Due to the same functional group, they shows similar chemical properties. They follow the same general formula. They shows a trend in their physical properties. And the consecutive member, abhi iska matlab bataunga what is meant by consecutive member of a homologous series differ by CH2. What exactly the functional group is? It is an atom or group of atoms that imparts or that decides the chemical properties of a homologous series. What are those functional groups? If there is a double bond, the functional group is called alkene. If there is OH, it is called alcohol. If there is CO2H, it's called carboxylic acid. If it starts with CO2, it is ester. Now let's begin with the first, functional group, homologous series called alkane. And let's first discuss first two homologous series, which are called hydrocarbons. So I think yesterday we had a good discussion on hydrocarbon. Who will describe the definition? What exactly the hydrocarbons? क्या होते हैं ये लोग? Hydrocarbons. Anyone in the class? What are hydrocarbons? No one knows. Compound that contain carbon and hydrogen atoms only. ऐसे ही बताया था कल. The molecule that comprises of carbon and hydrogen atoms only are called hydrocarbon. We have variety in hydrocarbon. You have saturated hydrocarbon. And we have unsaturated hydrocarbon. Saturated and unsaturated hydrocarbon. Now, saturated hydrocarbon are basically alkanes. Alkanes are saturated and alkenes are unsaturated hydrocarbons. Hydrocarbons are the compound entirely based of carbon and hydrogen atoms, everyone. We have two types of hydrocarbon, saturated and unsaturated. Saturated hydrocarbons are alkanes and unsaturated are alkenes. How do you define saturated hydrocarbon? So how do you define basically alkanes? The type of hydrocarbon that contains in which all carbon carbon bonds are single covalent, in which all carbon carbon bonds are single. ऊपर भी बताया था alkanes क्या होते हैं? They are those type of hydrocarbon in which all carbon carbon bonds are single covalent. They are called alkanes. Whereas an alkene, we know that in alkenes there is a double bond. The type of hydrocarbon in which there is a double bond, at least one double bond between carbon atoms, between bonded carbon atoms, right? Now, alkane, the key difference between alkane and alkene is they in alkane all are single bonded. Alkene, all I mean, there has to be one double bond. Okay, they are called saturated. They are called unsaturated. The general formula of alkane is CnH2n plus 2. What is this general formula tells you? It is a formula where you place n as 1, 2, 3, 5, 20, 100, and it tells you the number of hydrogen atom attached with that carbon. Okay, let's imagine n is 1, for example. So if n is 1, H2 into 1 plus 2, तो क्या बनेगा formula? It would be C, 2 ones are 2 and plus 2, H4 बनेगा या नहीं बनेगा? Yes. If n is 2, again C into 2 plus 2n plus 2, तो ये formula क्या बनेगा? C2 बनेगा and 2 2s are 4 plus 2, H6 बनेगा. Now n is 3, C into 3, H2 3 plus 2, so 2 3s are 6 plus 2 8, so C3H8 banega, and similarly N4 would be like C4H10. If you look at these molecules with the 1 carbon, 2 carbon, 3 and 4, actually हमारे syllabus में ये 4 ही. Look at the general formula for alkane, it is CnH2n plus 2. So you put n, you replace n with any number of any digit, it will tell you the hydrogen atom attached with that alkane. But look at the sequence. Whatever the number of carbon atoms, imagine 2 carbons, the hydrogens are double and then 2 more than double. That's the sequence. Okay. For example, we have 4 carbons. What is, double of 4? It is 8, and then add 2 to that 8, 10. So the sequence here is the relationship between hydrogen and carbon is hydrogens are 2 more than double. So 4 ka double is 8, then add 2. 3 ka double is 6, then add 2. 2 ka double is 4, then add 2. 1 ka double is 2, and then add 2. So the sequence in alkane is hydrogen are 2 more than double. 2 more than double. Okay, there was a sentence, एक मैंने feature लिखवाया था आपको, consecutive member differ by CH2. Now look at the consecutive members. ये पहला member है, right? इसका formula क्या है? CH4. ये उससे next member है. If you just want to see the difference in the consecutive members, देखो हमने कितने carbons add किए? We just added 1 carbon, and how many hydrogens? 2. Again, we increase 1 carbon, 2 hydrogens. 1 carbon, 2 hydrogens. So they differ by a group CH2. Consecutive member. Make sense, everyone? Please say yes, everyone. Thank you. Yes. भाई समझ आई है ये आपको basic सी चीज? Yes, boys and girls. Yes, no कर रहे हैं तुम लोग, हो या नहीं? Yes, Abdullah and Noor and Haifa. Make sense?
Yes.
Okay, अभी हम इसके questions करेंगे तो you'll develop a more better understanding, I would say. Okay, now let's understand how to write the name of these, beautiful molecule. Whenever there is one carbon in the molecule, the stem always starts with meth. एक carbon है तो meth से start होगा. Whenever there are 2 carbon, it starts with eth, no matter वो आगे कितने hydrogens है. एक carbon होगा तो meth, 2 eth, 3 is prop, and 4 is bute. Meth, eth, prop, bute. So if they belong to alkane family, how do we know they belong to alkane family? Because they follows this general formula, which shows that the hydrogens must be 2 more than double. अगर for example मैं यहाँ पे C2H4 लिख दूं और C2H6 लिख दूं, so which one of these is alkane? Let's say this is first structure and this is second structure. Which one of them is alkane and which one of them is not? इनमें से alkane कौन है? First वाला या second वाला? शाबाश. Which of these are alkane?
Second one.
Excellent. Why? Why do you think second one is alkane and why not first one?
Sir, because it goes by the formula.
Excellent. Because this structure tells it follows this general formula. 2 more than double. यहाँ पे तो exactly double hydrogen है. This is not an alkane. This is alkane. Right? This is not an alkane. Although ये hydrocarbon तो है, लेकिन alkane नहीं है. Now, since all of these goes by that formula, which is called alkane, so they belong to the same family. ये सब लोग एक ही family के member हैं, सब पाकिस्तानी हैं. Since they belong to the same family, तो इनकी stem तो हमने change कर दी meth, eth, prop, but. तो इन सब के end पे हम लिखेंगे ane, ane, ane and ane. So methane, ethane, propane and butane. Based on the carbon, you decide the stem, meth, eth, prop, but, and then you see if it follows the general formula of alkane, it has to be ane at the end. Methane, ethane, propane, and butane. Make sense, everyone? Yes. Yes. Okay. Let's look at this alkenes now. Whereas alkene have slightly different general formula, which is simply CnH2n. Whatever the carbons, hydrogens should exactly be double. तो आपको देखते पता चल जाएगा. इसमें से फिर ये तो alkene होगा ना. This one has to be alkene because hydrogens are exactly double than the carbon atoms. Now, the good thing about alkene is their n starts with 2. Because यहाँ पे condition ये है, important चीज बताने लगा हूं, जरा कान खोल के सुन ले सब लोग. यहाँ पे बेटे condition ये है कि there has to be a double bond between carbon atoms. तो if double bond has to be between carbon atoms, तो फिर minimum कितने carbon होने चाहिए to have a double bond? भाई एक कार्बन में तो डबल बॉन्ड नहीं हो सकता ना. इसकी डेफिनेशन में क्या लिखा हुआ है? There is a double bond between carbon atoms. So if there is a double bond between carbon atom, then there should be at least 2 carbon atom. तो अगर कार्बन 2 होंगे तो हाइड्रोजन कितने होने चाहिए? Exactly double. And 3 है, carbon 3, hydrogen should be exactly double. And if n is 4, so n is 4, hydrogen should be exactly double. Now by looking at the formula, आप बता सकते हैं कि भाई सर ये तो alkene है. क्यों alkene है? Because it follows the general formula of alkene, which says hydrogen must be exactly twice than the carbon atoms. Now, if it has 2 carbon, इसकी stem क्या होगी? 2 carbon की stem क्या थी? 2 carbon की stem क्या लिखवाई है मैंने? Eth. 3 is prop, 4 is but. So since it has 2 carbon, इसकी stem क्या होनी चाहिए? Eth. 3 carbon should be prop and 4 carbon must be but. But since they fits, they follow, they belong to a family called alkene, तो इनकी जो होगा second part, it must be ene and ene. So ethene, propene and butene. Please say yes. आप सबको समझ आ गई इसकी? The core difference between alkane and alkene is the presence of double bond in alkene, and there is no double bond in alkane. Alkenes are unsaturated because they have a double bond between carbon atoms, and alkanes, they are saturated because all carbon-carbon are single covalent. So today we understood the basic idea, the basic difference, that how do they follow the general formula of alkane and alkene. In alkane, they have 2 more hydrogens than carbon, whereas in alkene, they have exactly the double hydrogens. But naming are extremely important. Meth, eth, prop, but. If it follows the general formula of alkane, it should be methane, ethane, propane, butane. But if it follows the general formula of alkene, it should be ene, ethene, propene, butene. वो आपसे पूछ सकता है कि why does methane does not exist? तो methane तो हो ही नहीं सकती ना, क्योंकि उसने कहा है कि there should be a double bond between carbon. तो भाई अगर between carbon है, तो 2 कार्बन होंगे तो उनमें डबल बॉन्ड होगा. तो at least presence of 2 carbon is essential. कल इंशाल्लाह इसकी फर्दर डिटेल देखेंगे. अगर आपको आज का लेसन समझ आया तो it will develop a good understanding inshallah tomorrow. So we started with homologous series. In fact, the type of formulas displayed is extremely important. This is a must-ask question, no matter if you're IG from olevels. Functional group की definition and list of functional groups, types of hydrocarbon, and the key difference in the hydrocarbons. Correct? Take care. See you tomorrow. Bye-bye. Allah Hafiz.
Allah Hafiz, sir.
Hello.
Allah Hafiz, sir.